when you change something, you kind of force it now, right? You have to try to make sure that it happens on your watch, which can kind of deviate from everything else. That makes sense.
True.
I feel like at that point, you just have to ask yourself, is causing another flashpoint really worth it?
Shit.
Hey, everyone, I want to welcome you to our new guest who just fucking popped in without a fucking whatever. Our good buddy LJ. LJ, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, I am LJ. You can find me on my.
Anyway, no one fucking cares. So, what we were talking about, and I wonder if you wanted to get into this as well. I was already giving my shtick, but I'm trying to do this thing now, right? Where it's called like Valo-Rants or whatever, and it's more of like
Valo-Rants.
yeah, that's right. It works out, right? So, where I have the gameplay in the background, but it's more like a dumbed down podcast, right? And it's just to get things out of my mind and off of my chest of things that I think about when I can't sleep, right? And one of them,
it's a new perspective.
yeah, a new perspective, getting things. Okay, fuck it. So if you were to pick a time in your past, and we're going off a decade here, so 10 years, to put all your memories and experiences of yourself right now into your past, and basically kind of go back in time and redo everything with your current state of mind, like how would that work? Not just what would you do, but how does that work in general for your well-being? You know, how would you handle it? How could you do it? That kind of stuff, you know?
So I have one question, like regarding that. Would I retain like my muscle memory and motor skills from my current experiences now too, or just my knowledge?
Oh, that is a good one. That is a good one. And
yeah, because this is really important on whether or not I'm gonna have all the upgraded guitar skills. I'm gonna have to fucking practice my ass.
See, that makes a good question because, especially for musicians, I never really thought of that because I don't really count myself as a musician. But that's an excellent one. Doesn't matter. But
if I remember correctly, muscle memory is partially in the brain. So if you're actually taking all of your memories and stuff back, then you should keep that. But in all honesty, we have nowhere near enough data to give any sort of definitive answer on anything involved in this topic tonight.
Yeah, because again, everything is all hypothetical here, right? We're talking about streamlines and fucking timelines, and just it's a clusterfuck of brain babies. I'm sorry, but let's just say
brainstorm, thunderstorm. Conglomeration.
But let's just say yes, you do, because you have yourself or your current state of mind, your consciousness back, right? And one of the puzzling things is how do you react when now you can know what happened when you were younger, you know? Because now you can't really remember it as clearly as day, but you can when you're younger, 10 years ago, you know? It's still pretty fresh. So how does that work?
If I were to go back at any point 10 years from now, let's see, what year is it, 2020? Okay, so I would, all right, 10 years from now, I think that would be like sophomore year of high school for me. All the way back.
Fucking young ass.
I would definitely go all the way back to sophomore year of high school. Because honestly, it's like, why pick a point later from that, you know? Like, for me personally, it's like, I have more control over what I want to, like, shape for the future and what I do. Like, and I give myself an opportunity the earlier I go, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I would go as early as I possibly could. Like, I wouldn't fucking do everything from being a baby again.
No, again, this is only 10 years. This is only a decade of your life. Like what Fox brought up earlier is like every 7 years, your right? Your personality changes, or you like a different person.
Your body changes. Yeah, your cells are all swapped out for fresh ones. You're more likely to have new friends, new taste in clothes, possibly even food.
Yeah, the same taste in clothes since like. But then again,
let's put it this way: if it lasts longer than 7 years, you're probably keeping it for life.
Fair enough. Yeah, so I would definitely restart high school year again. That was actually a really comfortable spot in my life because that was the point where, because I don't know if I don't remember if I told you, Koro. I remember telling Fox though. Like I used to be socially dumb in like middle school or fifth grade actually. 5th grade up until the end of middle school. Like I didn't know how to fucking talk to people. Got bullied for it. So that's what led to me going on to Meebo. and learning how to talk to people. Actually, that's where I met Mike and Fox.
I remember that. We talked about that, yeah.
So sophomore year, that's where I kind of started getting the groove of it. Like I started knowing how to talk to people at that point, but like I wasn't like fully there yet in the sense. Like I didn't. So I had the knowledge of how to like keep a conversation, but I just didn't have the confidence to execute what I needed.
Okay, so this is an excellent point that you're bringing up, because this is what I was just telling Fox is, and I know this is kind of like making everything convoluted again, but Fox and I were talking about how, in my experience of going back, having your current state of mind, now that you're in your mind, you're older, right? You've been through it. You know what to do. So now you're more mature. Now you see yourself differently. You have a default confidence, right? So how does that change for you now? Because given your current mind right now, going back to sophomore, I'm guessing, does that change everything for you then? So now you don't have to worry about the whole trying to train yourself, because now you already trained yourself, right? Now you're just like a fucking level 100 going to a level 1 dungeon, like it's just done.
Well, that's just great, because like that as a musician, like I'm always striving to like be better, if I could go back and do it all over again, I would have definitely been more try hard with like being on my shit and like learning new stuff. Honestly, I probably would have still like slacked off in school, like I did, just because I don't really give a fuck about the American education system and I think it's dog shit. But, like, so this is something I think a lot of people seem to misjudge when they imagine like starting high school over again with their current state of mind. So going back to that, right? You're actually I think the biggest thing, like hurdle wise, you're gonna have to readjust to all the shit you're gonna have to deal with in high school. When you're more mature, right, you're gonna be very disinterested in all the social like circumstances and all the bullshit and all the drama that's gonna happen there.
Yeah.
But at the time, if you your current mature mental state, right?
What if you take this chance to help, like, say you have a friend that was going through some shit, right? What if you take this chance to help them out even more than, say, you could the first time around?
That's a good point.
I always tried to do like the most I could. I always have code that I can like fucking, like I'm not gonna obviously like if I have a friend that's getting like abused by her dad, I'm not gonna like intervene and go fucking beat up her dad, like I'm not gonna go that far, but like just talking to them, giving them like a person to vent to, like all that stuff, like giving them the emotional like I'll do that, like I've always done that, so that doesn't change for me. But in terms of like having to readjust to everything, like I kind of have to train myself to get in the rhythm of that, because I feel like if you just let go of it, right, and you're just like, oh, I'm above all of that, then at that point you're kind of gonna lose a lot of your high school experiences that you could have had or that you had before that made it enjoyable, because at this point you're kind of just going through the whole thing acting all high and mighty and thinking you're better than everyone. And I feel like that's what a lot of people have to look out for if this situation ever happens to them, right? The experience isn't going to be as enjoyable for you anymore, because I feel like it's just like you ever go to a video game, right, and you have to like go to a backup save data file and you have to start out from like 2 dungeons ago or something like that, and you're just like, oh, I have to play through all this shit again, and then you kind of just you try to just bum rush through it, and it's kind of sloppy. You're going through it because you're just like, I don't give a fuck, I've already seen all this isn't interesting to me like it was the first time.
So this
Persona game.
Pretty much.
I'm glad you brought that point up too, because that's exactly what kind of ties into the psychological aspect as well, because now you're going through the day-to-day activities you don't want to do, but waiting for everything else to happen that you want to happen. You know what I mean? So say there's again the point in time you want to change for the better for the future, but now you got to wait for it. Now you got to go through what you just said is going through everything again, even though some of it may be new because you changed the timeline, but even then it's still dumb shit you gotta go through day in, day out, everything. I'd never really thought about that part either. I was just
I mean, isn't that the price you pay to go back and enjoy this all again?
Yeah.
Have all the good stuff, is have some of the bad stuff and deal with all of it.
The thing that irks me the most, and I don't know why it irks me the most, but it's the waiting for the things that I enjoy. Like, for example, Season 5 Apex, that shit is, right? It is so good, right? So waiting those...
So here's the real question. Do you really want to go back with Apex available? Like, you can't play Apex if you go back.
Well, okay, so...
about that. I can play World at War again in its prime.
Well, okay, think about this though. Like, I'm fine with losing the things that I have now, because now I get to enjoy the things I like. Fox, we've talked about this. Like, we've been so nostalgic about certain games and certain things, right? But now when you get the chance to go back to play them, it's like, oh, this is great, and maybe you can make something out of it this time. But that's a whole different thing. But it's just that anticipation of knowing that there is going to be something just as good as this in the future, but now you got to wait for it. And something that you really enjoyed, you have to wait for it too. Like, again, season 5 Apex I love, but when, say, in the future, if Apex does actually come out, if I don't fuck anything up, right, in terms of whatever, season 1 is going to be great. But then when you have the rest of the season, you're just like, fuck, oh my god, I know what happens in season 5, I know what happens, and you want it so badly. You know, like, huh?
I was gonna say, like, high key, all the games that fucking didn't pop off that I really enjoyed, I would like make an effort to fucking. I would actually make the effort to try to like keep it alive or like just enjoy it like even more than I could. Because MXM,
I know that feel.
Rapid Fights, like those games I really fucking love, but when they just fucking died, like I was so sad.
Infinite Crisis, man.
This is one of the reasons why, again, I wanted to have conversations with other people, or even, as I put it at the end of this segment, whatever, where I want to have a conversation with the people who watch this in the comments below, is get other people's like opinions about this, because other people's opinions kind of change of how I look about it now. Is, again, talking about the whole school situation, like, now I know that if you take away the school part, now you still have the boring day-to-day operations that you're going to have to deal with, that you can remember, right? That you have to go through, and that just sucks overall, just so you can get to the end point again 10 years later. Sure, it's a second life, but it's a second life where it's like a new save plus, you know, like, you're kind of overpowered, but you still got to go through the same fucking cutscenes and the same, some of the same things over, but with different choices now.
But yeah, dude, it's pretty much just making sure you don't. Here's another thing too, right? Like, I feel like another really important thing is when you go back in time, you're gonna be really excited to like do new things, right?
Oh yeah.
I feel like it's also really important to go through all those experiences that you really fucking treasured back then, because I feel like if you get too busy trying to like do a bunch of new stuff, right, you're gonna miss out on all of the really good shit that you fucking got to go up to. Like, because for me, when I was in high school, I was in marching band again, like just like in middle school, except marching band was ass in high school. Like, a lot of the people were shit. The fucking program was shit. My band director was shit. Like, we always got last place. It was ass, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, like, all that bullshit led up to this amazing experience senior year where I got to fucking play with an honors orchestra series at Carnegie Hall, fucking met hella awesome people, and that was just one of the best times of my life. So if I decided to do something else, like let's say, oh, fuck marching band, like, I'm gonna just like practice music at home, fucking get a private tutor, start like learning different instruments and all that stuff, right? Like, I'm gonna miss out. I'm definitely gonna miss out on like the experiences that led up to fucking going to Carnegie Hall again, and that's something I definitely wouldn't want to miss out on. So yes. I feel like if you get caught up in doing new stuff, you're gonna miss out on some really good shit. That's at some point.
That's when it comes into the whole like changing the timelines, because depending on what you do can add up to that event or completely avoid it, depending on what happens. But at the same time is knowing that that is a place and time that you want, and say something deviates from it, how's that going to affect you psychologically to make sure that it happens? When you change something, you kind of force it now, right? You have to try to make sure that it happens on your watch, which can kind of deviate from everything else. That makes sense.
I feel like at that point you just have to ask yourself, is causing another flashpoint really worth it?
Shit.
In terms of the quantum physics realm of our science bullshit that we are doing today, right? If you change that timeline, again, we'll use your example, LJ, of Carnegie Hall, right? And say you're just like, okay, now instead you do the private tutoring, and that never happens for you, right? Now, because you're in a whole new timeline, does that memory of Carnegie Hall start to fade away over time? Or because you already experienced it, does it stay with you in that timeline? You know what I'm saying? Because it never happened, per se, but it did happen in another timeline.
Well, if you're speaking in terms of like the science of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It all directly depends, because there's no definitive answer to that, obviously, because it's all or hypothetical.
Yeah, exactly.
But it all boils down to the point, like if you do something in the past, obviously, like, because a minor change, right? Like even a minor change could alter like who you are as a person, because obviously as people we like grow based on our experiences, and honestly a big chunk of that happens through like what we experience in high school, because like we experience our shit through high school, right? And then bringing that mindset into like dealing with the harsh realities of being an adult that comes afterwards, especially going into college, like that's where it starts like forming, right? But it's like that base initial like mindset you have like before it starts for like maturing and stuff like that. That's kind of the base of who you are at that point, you know.
Ooh, that was an intense one. Now, again, this is the part where, again, I thank you for listening and watching. I do appreciate it. And remember, let me know down in the comments below of what you thought and your opinion on the matter so far. We'll have another part to this soon. But again, I want to thank you guys for staying tuned. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And you know what? Have a good day.